You think it makes that big of a difference?
Nope. Hey, everyone. We are talking. It says something and I can't read it. Oh, Facebook is saying something to me.
I can't read it either.
Try another way of going live during your broadcast. Oh, it wants me to do something different. We're not going
We'll pass
to.
this
We
time.
are not going to. But we did decide.
Speaking of passing.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Calling an audible today.
Oh,
so-
yeah. We are calling
call
an
the
audible.
segue.
We were supposed to be. I didn't know what you were saying. So, anyway, so here's the dealio. We decided that we weren't going to do Warts and All this time, even though that's a good one that we need to do. We are going to do Parenting Your Adult Children. It's the holidays, and some people might want some help, especially if you're the adult child who doesn't want your parents parenting you anymore. So we've got some advice
Did
with that.
something happen during the holidays that make this be an audible?
No, I mean,
Well, we heard stuff.
not from us, from other people we know. Hey, Yvonne, I'm just going to have to put on my
Yeah.
glasses and get it over with. I am
that.
not seeing tonight at all. Hey, Yvonne. Kim Casey's on. I saw Robin earlier.
Hey, you're missing all these people. I
I'm
can't
missing
see that
everybody
far.
because I didn't have my glasses on. So anyway, here while we're doing this and while we're getting started, I have to tell y'all. You see this book? Oh, it's backwards because I didn't reverse the deal because I don't have a thing. Anyway, it's called The Delusion.
Show them the back of the book. Maybe that won't work.
It's called the author is Laura Gallier, and she's actually from Cyprus, I believe. I met her last week. Oh my goodness, spiritual warfare. This is so good. It's a fiction book, so it's kind of like, just telling you a story. I have been so engrossed. Have I not been so engrossed?
Very gross.
Cannot put it down.
Oh,
so
engrossed.
So good.
That too.
And it's like volume 1 of several she has coming out. Y'all need to get this. Go to Amazon or, the Kindle and all the different things. The Delusion. You're going to want to read it. I may wind up doing a talk on this because, wow, is it an eye-opener.
But if you buy
seriously.
this episode and this one right here, get a mirror to go with it because you can't. No, that's just.
It's just the Facebook. He's being goofy. He thinks he's funny, but he's not. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started.
Are we?
Yes, we are. So I hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving. Ours was fun. We drove to see
A lot of fun.
some of our adult children.
How many miles was that?
We, I don't know. We went to Columbia, Missouri. We picked up one son in Fort Worth, had one son with us, and went and saw our third son. And it was a lot of sons. It was a lot of boy time.
No
It
snow.
was awesome. So
None at all. Snowed before we got there. Went away. Snowed on our way out.
Yep. We didn't see snow.
But I got to golf twice.
And I got abandoned twice, so there you have it. The only time he's willing to be without me is when he's with his boys. He is like, see ya! Wouldn't want to be ya! Okay, so we're going to talk about, I only have one set of notes, so we're going to be huddled up in the middle. So, parents, you have adult children out there, right? Okay, here's what's going to happen. At some point, you're going to realize they turned into adults and you got to let go. Mine was probably when Crystal was still close to the house, and that didn't bother me as much because I was still raising 3 boys that were much younger. So it kind of distracted that transition with her. But when the boys left, I mean, I still have one boy at home, but I don't expect him to go anywhere anytime soon. But we are learning to release him early. But when the 2 boys left together, that was my big wake-up call. And it was...
Wait,
What?
Last week we talked about leaning back. You want to call it double audible?
I don't
Just
know.
chill, relax.
Me?
Bring it on.
Oh,
back.
just
bring it on.
So
back.
y'all like us just leaning
There you
back?
go.
No, I don't like that at all. So, okay. Anyway, I had my aha moment. My boys were grown and my daughter was grown and everybody's living their lives and I'm trying to figure out how not to be a mom anymore. and yet you're still a mom. You know what I'm saying? So you still have that. We're going to go over, you're a dad, but whatever. Moms nurture way more. So anyway, what we're going to do is talk about some things that we feel like some parents still parent their adult children way too much. And we basically want to talk about things that you need to do to help yourself let go. Hey, Tessa. I'm leaning in because I can't see tonight.
You got the camera further away than normal, but that's all right.
So when your kids grow up, here's the thing. They're going to grow up and if you don't respect them as adults, they're just going to go away and you're not going to have them in your life. So, or at least not as much as you could. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is, do you get to live near your kids? Because that's awesome when you do, right? My daughter lives just down the road and it's so cool because I get to see my grandbabies and my baby girl. And
it does present opportunity, and with that comes a little bit of a challenge to make sure that
you don't just go.
You don't overstep your bounds.
Well, here's the thing.
And that's where most people lose it.
My parents were good in the fact that they lived across the street from us, and we didn't have them over all the time. In fact, I took care of my mom a lot because she was sick. Well, I had to go take care of mom a lot, but the reality is it was still not a daily thing. You would think parents that live across the street from your kids, you would just pop over without calling because they just live right there. Don't do that to your adult kids. And I can tell you now that I would have a problem with, even now, my kids or my family or my friends just popping over if my house is not clean, because I have a real problem with a clean house. So I definitely want the phone call. Now, the reality is I'm not going to turn anybody away. So just call me and give me a heads up. That's the respect. Well, your kids deserve that respect as well. Don't you agree?
It's true. The idea of having two separate households is a very strong presence you need to respect, because it works both ways, and you don't want them just popping by. You don't want you just popping in. So, it doesn't have to be formal, but there needs to be some respect to it.
Right. It's just respect. Respect your kids. They might be your kids, but they're adults with a life of their own. Hey, Megan.
I think a lot of people pop by for, might be some other things that they're up to in the process that we might want to talk about.
Well, most of the time sometimes moms just want to make a meal and take it to their kids. Some people just want to go see if they can catch their adult kids in, I don't know, bad stuff, I guess. I'm not real sure.
I know, you raised them.
So, yeah, well, that's another story.
Meaning you as in the parents
but
raised them.
But our kids are their own independent children, and they're going to do and say things that they want to do and say, and you have to let them do that. So, but here's the big kicker that we're really going to start getting into. So, a lot of parents want to still kind of rule their kiddos. Like, when are you having babies? That's a question. Do y'all know that I even had somebody today ask me when my boys were having babies, meaning their wives? And I'm thinking, one's been married for 2 years, one's been married for 1 year, so hopefully not anytime soon. But the reality is, I don't have any say. The only thing I've ever expressed was, I want some grandbabies. So at some point in your marriage, I'd like to have some grandbabies. That's it.
You tell them at their wedding. You should have babies around 28.
That's their problem. You don't tell them. That's not what you do. Oh, my word. This is what we're going against. You don't tell your kids when they should be getting married, or, their job choices, if they're going to college. You raise them to grow up to be independent and to live their own lives. It's not for you to control all that anymore. It's really not. So, you need to leave them alone when they're making their big life. Now, if they come to you and say, I've met this chick that I want to marry, or I met this guy, I think he's kind of cool, and they ask you questions, by all means, give them advice. Make sure it's sound advice. It's not what you want for yourself, but what you know is best for them. And then if they choose to take the advice, what? And if they choose not to take the advice,
Wah.
no, it's fine because it's their life. That's the point.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, why do you care so much?
right, because you just want them to be like your friends once they're adults. You just want to be able. I mean, you still want to influence them, but if you're trying to control their lives, then that's not going to work.
Let it go.
So let's see. I've got this kind of all mushed together in here
Depends on how you want to go
because,
through it.
well,
Just stick with the script.
it's not really a script because there was part that I wanted to do that was going to go with this, but that's not next. So this is what you do when you decide to pull an audible and in the middle of the day decide we're going to go with this. Here's what I'm going to say anyway, because it really bothers me. There are parents who want to control their adult children as to when they're coming home for Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter and their birthdays and, whatevers. And I have no problem with expressing, well, I would really kind of like to see you for the holidays. But when your adult child says, well, we've decided we're going to go to the in-laws or we don't want to go anywhere. I mean, Crystal has chosen Thanksgiving is not her holiday to go be with family members. She might have this year. I don't know. But that's one thing I've always respected. Thanksgiving was her day. Sometimes she would come over, her and Cody and the kids. Sometimes it'd be just her. Sometimes just her and the kids. And they'd spend, a few hours or whatever. But for the most part, she's an adult. Cody's an adult. They get to do what they want to. And I think it's really, there's a lot of parents. I've heard somebody the other day talking and saying that, they were really upset because their kid wasn't coming home and they were making a different choice. But the reality is that's their choice because they're an adult. I understand kind of going, there was one time I just flew off the handle though. I was ticked. I mean,
Just one time.
super ticked off. Okay, before the boys were getting married, it was going to be my last Christmas that I had, with all of my family home at Christmas and all my kids. You know what I'm saying? Before the boys were getting married and life was changing and life changes at that point. And so I said I wanted them home. And Quentin's like, well, I can't get there till, I don't know, January 12th or 15th. And I lost it. I lost it over the phone very loudly, not nice, and said, fix it. And they did, and they got him home. And then he had to be home for 10 days. He was not happy, but he did it for me. So my advice, don't
You do
that.
that too many times, they stop coming.
Well, of course, now once he got married, that was the only time. And I'm telling y'all the bad things we do, that was a bad thing I did. But I got him home and I had all my kids for the last Christmas because it was really important to me. But for the most part.
And that even happened after we already knew many or most of the things we're talking about. These things can still happen.
Right, because emotions get involved. And
Because people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't try to control your adult children. Let them go.
Stop it.
So if your children are still living at home, let's move on. Okay, so if you're just joining us, here's what we're talking about. We were going to do warts and all this week, and then we decided with the holidays coming up, there's a lot of people who like to parent their adult children, and we've just got all kinds of people coming on right now.
do.
Stephanie, Dewana, and I saw somebody else's name, and 2 or 3 other people, but I was talking.
So we picked up on a pet peeve.
Renee, and so we decided it's one of these things that we don't like is to see people parenting adults.
Adult.
And
children.
so we actually,
Because they're adults, not children.
a few months ago, we had a friend that was being parented by their adult mentor, and that mentor came to us, and we actually told him to stop parenting that person. And you have 2 at home. Well, we're going to talk about being at home, Lisa, because we have 1 at home. We have 1.
That's an extra challenge.
And here's the deal. I've done really well with telling him, you're an adult. We don't have any real rules. But here are the rules, and these are what you have to think about. If adult children are living at home, they should be responsible to help with some chores around the house. They should have to vacuum or do the dishes or buy some groceries. I don't necessarily, I'm wheezing really bad all of a sudden. I don't think that they should, if you're trying to get them to save money to move out, maybe paying a big amount of rent's not the smart thing to do. Hey, Lindsay. But they can help with a light bill here and there. They can pick up groceries. They can help with things around the house. That's all I'm going to say about
And
an
you
adult
can
child at home.
Take that rent and save it for them and give it back when they leave.
Well, yeah, we did talk about doing that.
It's a good practice. It gets them into recognizing that they have to pay rent or mortgages or bills. And this is a good thing. Remembering you're training them up to go out on their own. And,
Right.
and if they are responsible, then this is part of the tools that you're giving them, and that they prove to you. It's also part of our discussion we've had or will have about raising your kids to find their future spouse. You want them to practice the things that would attract them or things that would make them be responsible.
That's going to be on our singles thing in
It's
a couple
coming
of
up.
them.
So
Yeah.
these are things that we'll talk about more in detail there, but there's very good reasons why all those things need to take place.
Right.
It's
Well, our youngest one that's home is 21, so he's still young, still figuring out some things. I'm okay with him being here. He pretty much hangs out and does what he wants to when he wants to. Sometimes he watches TV with us. Sometimes he plays video games.
there's an understanding, and so he's not treated like a child. He's not a teenager.
Nope.
We don't treat
He's
him
an
like that
adult.
on purpose. And he can come and go and make his decisions. And sometimes he makes decisions we don't really think are all that right way. You know, it's not what we would want him to do. But you know what? It's his decision.
That's
as long as
right.
he's not going to hurt anybody or
Right.
cause any
And
calamity.
short of hurting themselves or other people, then your child needs to be able to fall on their face
Don't-
and become an adult on their own once they get there.
Don't steal them their right of learning just like you did.
You know when your kids are little and they fall down and you go, no, you don't. What do? You're like, shake it off. It's okay. Oh, it's just a little dirt. We'll
If you're
knock
smart,
it off.
that's what you do. I don't see that very often.
Well, I did it with my kids. I was like, psh, whatever.
they respond
Now,
to your emotions.
I'm not the same with my grandkids, and I don't understand. My grandkids, they do that, and I do the, and Crystal's like, Mom, would you stop it? Yep,
Stop it.
stop it. Let them learn to walk. Let them learn to crawl and run. Let your kids,
Well,
let
they're
them
adult
make,
children. They've already done all that.
well, they're going
I
to
don't
make
mean-
messes. Don't enable them.
Yep.
And let them fall on their face and then help them up. The next big one is, okay, you cannot have your children, hey, Becky, choose between you and their family.
Oh, that's a
If-
death wish right there.
And you see it. Okay, so who watches Everybody Loves Raymond? I hate that show with a passion anymore.
There's a lot of
because
manipulation going
There's
on.
a lot of manipulation from the mom. I used to laugh at that show, and the more my boys grew up, the more, hey, Michelle, the more I realized it's not really funny because you're making those boys' lives miserable. You know what I'm saying? So I've learned, not that I did that with my kids because I was watching that way before they grew up, but it makes me not want to, to do that. So don't make them choose. We just kind of went over that with like the holidays. Hey, Barbara, try to be understanding and let them, how many times have we forgotten to call your mom on her birthday? Not really ever because that's our anniversary, but your dad on his birthday, that's the one we would usually forget. But then we would call the next day.
Right.
And they didn't hold it over our heads. They knew.
If they want me to call back again.
Yes. I totally agree, Megan. I don't like it. And I used to, but then he kept turning it on and I was just like, I'm not watching this anymore. Because the men were all made out to be, what's the word she called Ray? Idiots. And then I got into a habit of calling him an idiot. You want to know why? Because that's what I'm feeding myself, because now he must be an idiot when he's clearly not. Look at him. Yes, I agree. I totally agree. So,
But we take even the least of which in shows and everything and turn it into a lesson all the time. So
right. Well, so anyway, just don't be that.
Is that part of the don't ask, don't tell thing?
No, that's further down.
Don't ask.
None of that's on there.
All right.
No, it's not. Listen to me. Listen to me when I'm talking. Don't.
That right there.
Stop that. Don't criticize your kids. Now,
Are you supposed to be leaning into the camera?
No, I am before effect. Because, okay, I had a really hard time all of raising my kids, that coming into them cleaning house, that I would always, like, they would do this clean, but it wasn't my clean. So I would find the stuff that wasn't clean enough, and it'd be kind of like, what? And Crystal was old enough, more than the boys, that she came to me one time and she's like, you just keep finding the bad stuff. We're not going to do this anymore. So
you're no fun.
So I realized, I had to make changes. Oh, guess what, parents? You're not perfect. And there you have it. You need to learn. And I did, and I was willing to learn even from my children, okay? Because there were times I needed it. So, do not criticize your children, especially in what? What's the number one thing that drove me insane if I got criticized for it? Wow.
There's a list. I don't know which one I'm going to give you the top billing. What is it?
Parenting.
Where are you going with it?
The topic that's right
Criticizing
here.
your parenting. Don't tell you how to do anything.
Y'all, we did talk about this. I don't
did.
know what he's thinking about. Parenting, if you criticize your kid's parenting job, it's really going to upset them and they're not going to want to be around you with your grandkids. Now, I'm going to brag on myself because when my kids were little, I knew what it was like to be criticized with my parenting. I hated it. And so I made a promise to myself, not doing that to my kids. And I haven't. As far as I know, I haven't. I may have. Crystal can fill us in on that later, because she's the only one with kids so far.
I've got some really funny stories about what happens when you do it, though.
Nope, we're not talking about
share that right now.
Nope. So here's the deal.
It would change the rating of the
Crystal brings me kiddos, and I go, and actually Megan, she did this to me one time too, because I was like, oh, let him do that. And she's like, nope. Those are rules at my house, and I want them honored at all of the houses that he goes to. And this is when Aiden was little. And I was like, okay, we'll honor that. So that was that's one of the things that you learn as a grandparent. Now here's, we play video games and toys and eat candy and go to McDonald's and all the things that moms get to do with their grandbabies. But if my daughter brings her grands to me and she says, well, I don't want him watching this show. Well, he's not going to watch that show because I'm going to honor what she says. Or if she says that, this weekend he can't be on the tablet, that's part of his punishment. Well, just because she leaves doesn't mean I'm going to let him be on the tablet, because I owe her the respect. She's parenting. I get to do all the fun. Don't get me wrong. We have fun, and Mom lets them get away with a lot. But there's a few things that I'm really hardcore. I'm going to honor what the parents say. And it's really funny because Kate's like, why? Mommy and Daddy aren't here. I know, but we need to respect your parents. They're your parents. So you're teaching your grandkids, even though...
Honor, respect.
Even though you're no mom. And so I respect my kids with their decisions as to what they're going to do. I'm looking down at my notes. So if you're just coming on, we decided not to do warts and all, which we know can be really, really ugly. But we have another section we're about to go to, but I'm going to bring this back up. You can't read it. It's called The Delusion. Wow. Y'all need to read this book. It's written by Laura Gallier. She lives in Cyprus. It's on Amazon. It's on everything. I'm almost done. I cannot put it down as soon as we
Support
finish
your
here.
local author. How's
Oh, it's amazing. And Duck Dynasty's one of the kids, Jace Robertson, he read it and wrote a thing on it. And I was like, wow, that's pretty big. So, okay, so 7 suggestions we have for parenting your adult children. You want to parent them, but you want to parent them in the right way. Because really, they're going to be your friends more than being your kids once they hit a certain age. It's just kind of life, right?
If you've done your job, which is parenting, there's a point where you parented them away, out of that position of child and into the position of independent adult. And that's where you...
And sometimes you may not like their decisions, but it's their decisions. So what do? You intercede and you pray. And when you decide you're going to worry about your kids, because that part never goes away when they're little, you want to protect them, and then they get to be teenagers and you're torn with wanting to protect them and kick them out because they're teenagers and they're driving you insane. And then they become the young adults and you're starting to transition into the adulthood. And when that's happening, it's ripping your heart out too. Trust me. Anybody who knows me knows exactly how far deep into despair I went when it was time to let go. And you do get really concerned. Are you laughing at me?
Never.
He's laughing because that first year when Drayton went away with Quentin was rough. Pray for your children. And when you have fear and worry coming over you, pray for them. Let them know that you love them. Let them know that you're praying for them. You could even ask them, what can I pray for you? They might share, or they may say, well, we have some big decisions we need to make. Don't pry if they don't offer. That's their decision. When we were up there this week seeing our kids, they were telling us some big life events that might be coming up for them in the future. And, my son thought surely I was going to be all upset. He even wanted me to be all upset because I'm supposed to be all upset about it. And yet, I was just like, good, I support it. Yeah, okay. It is what it is. You support what they do. So, discipline yourself to not worry and pray. Speak reservedly. Don't share all of your opinions about everything. And don't bring it back to you. One of the things that I learned, I know I am doing all the talking, and he's done none of it
like
tonight.
Me today.
I'm
Now
sorry.
speak reservedly.
I'm sorry. Do you want to talk?
Nope.
Do you want to talk? This is a big one for me, guys. It's huge. It's huge. And that's the reason why I'm doing it, because I really feel like it's a big deal. And I just lost. Oh, okay. Not too long ago, I was watching a video and I talked about it with you, that when somebody's going through something and they talk to you about it, it might be something you've gone through, and you bring it up because you feel like that's making a connection, right?
Right.
So, but it's really not. It's really making the conversation about you and off of that person.
I do that all the time.
I know. And so if somebody's going through something, so your child starts talking about, I don't know, finances, moving, their kids, difficulties in their marriage, whatever. And you say, oh, wow, here's what happened with me. Da, 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 da. They might not be wanting to hear what happened with you. They might be looking for advice, but they may just be wanting to talk to you. So make sure before you start spewing out your opinions that they really want to hear it. So are you going to do any talking?
Yeah, I've got a Mike Rowe summary.
Okay. So think about when you were their age. Here's my big one. Set some boundaries, because boundaries are important. And if you've watched us at all, you understand boundaries in everything. because otherwise if you don't have the boundaries even with your adult children, it's gonna cause friction. I'm not sure what I want to say there because this one's more yours.
Well, the boundaries is quite clear. This is the one where you got to stay off their turf.
Do you know that it was way more natural for the boundaries? They were just built in with me and my boys, and they were not just built in with me and my daughter. Just saying that, moms. For whatever
Just
it's
happens
worth.
that way.
It just did for me. So pay attention. Learn from your own stuff.
And it depends on who's.
Oh, well, there's no.
How long
it
you've been
wasn't
doing
a
it
fault.
has nothing
it
to
was
do with
just
anything.
when you open your eyes and realize there was a difference.
Sure.
So I'm just telling moms, if you have daughters and sons, it may be more natural to have boundaries once they're adults with one versus the other. I don't know why. I'm just saying it happened with me.
Yeah, it's a very specific encounter. But yeah, when you have boundaries situation with your children, especially if they are young adults living in your home, you've got an extra challenge there. They are separate. They may still be with you, but you're still trying to get them no longer dependent upon you, and that they need to make their own decisions. So therefore, there's a lot of things you need to do as a parent to allow them the authority to be sovereign. They need to have their own space. They need to make their own decisions and have their own challenges.
You aren't wrapping up yet.
Nope.
Okay.
You got
So
more to go.
I just have a little more, and then he's wrapping up. Hey, Terry. Hey, Dolly. Okay, so you need to support your children as adults without interfering with their lives, without controlling them, without telling them they have to be home for every holiday and your birthday and every Tuesday night for dinner and all those things because, well, life happens and they may not be able to. But you're going to give them a lot of grace and forgiveness. You're going to have an overabundance of grace and generosity and forgiveness to your children. And you're going to love them unconditionally and then just pour love on them no matter what. Life happens. Sometimes it gets to be really difficult. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you just sit quietly and you just let them do and you show them love. And we learn that from God. And in Proverbs 4:23, it says, guard the heart. So you need to guard your heart, but you need to guard their hearts. You're still protecting your kids, even as adults, but you don't want to go in and meddle and do. And this is probably not as fun a topic this week for y'all as it's been for us, where we're sharing lots of funnies, because there's nothing funny about trying to control your adult child, I don't think. And we didn't have parents that tried to control us. We did have one set of the parents that tried to tell me how to parent my kids, and that did not end well for them. And because I was not nice about it.
No.
So, we've had a few things that we dealt with like that, but for the most part, we didn't have them trying to control us. And so you cannot control your adult child. You can't tell them they need to go to school for masters. You can't tell them that they have to be here for Christmas. You can't tell them that every Tuesday night's our family dinner. You have to work your job around it. Those things can't happen. And yet we see it all the time, all around us.
And then the very same parents wonder why they have estranged relationships with their children.
Right.
That's why you're not fun to be with.
Right.
You're overbearing. You've overstepped your bounds. You're trespassing all over their property. You're not allowing them to live their lives. They're not free to be me. And there you guys are, standing right in the middle of their pond, feet soaking wet, wondering, what did I do?
Right. Once you get far enough along, we're about to wrap this puppy up. You will realize that your adult kids are your best friends and you have so much fun with them. And we just drove up we missed Crystal because she was here, because who wants to drive with 3 kids for 12 hours? I wouldn't.
Very few people.
So she stayed here at Thanksgiving, and we went up and saw the boys, and it was so much fun. And when they come down in January for Christmas, and I get to have all of my kids together, You
Even
know,
more
that's
fun.
that's a mama's heart right there. You
Even
know what I'm
more
saying?
fun.
I'm going to be so excited. It's going to be nothing can take the place of that. I just enjoy being with them. And so, but I don't want to control them. And that's what I think y'all need to really understand. So, I was going to say something else and I forgot, but you did raise them for this. You've raised them to be the parents, to be the students, to be the adults that they've become. You let go, you let God, and be their friends and just offer advice when they ask. But don't overdo. Okay, I'm done.
And relinquish your adult children.
Yeah, this is all
Got it all
yours.
there.
This is yours.
That's all mine?
Well, you said you wanted to summarize.
Oh, I'm doing that over here.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were running down that list
This
right
says
there.
closing summary.
Yeah, yours.
Oh, my mother told me guilt was it is. Yes, I agree. My mother told me guilt was a horrible thing to try to never rest guilt on my children's heart. That is so true. Part of one of the things I was reading earlier.
Guilt fosters resentment.
Yes, people will try to make their children feel guilty. Well, you didn't come home for Christmas, or you didn't come home. And it could be for just dumb things, or it could be for a real serious thing. When my boys didn't come home for our 25th vow renewal, I was very upset. I cried because, I mean, who wouldn't come home for that, right?
Right.
So that was one of my big...
This is the first they're hearing of it.
No, it's not. I talked to Drayton for a long time about it. But, you know, I'll admit my mistakes. So what? I cried. And I did put some guilt on him, and then I had to apologize for that. Because I don't want that. I don't want my kids feeling guilty. I mean, they were in college. You know, could they have come home? Yep, they sure could have. Was it my place to make them feel guilty that they didn't? Nope, not at all. Not as a mom. It sure wasn't. So recognize and respect your differences. Your kids are different than you. Yes, there's a lot of stuff about your kids. My favorite part of seeing my boys when they're older, you want to know? I get to see me in them because they are this one. All three are this one. And to be honest with you, Crystal
Even
is
more
this
so.
one.
Yeah.
And so
That
I have
one's
a lot
frightening.
of this one in all my
Yes.
kids. And so
How did that happen?
I don't know. You carried a lot of influence, baby. So when I get to see my kiddos as adults and we go up there with my boys, it does my heart so good because I'm like,
I do exist.
I
did make a difference.
influence them. There is part of me. Sometimes it's not the good part, but I don't care. It's still me.
They do want live Christmas trees.
Yes, that was huge. Quentin has live Christmas trees every year. Yes, Mama did good. Recognize and
That's so
respect your
important.
differences. It's huge for me. It's not a big deal. It really doesn't matter. Share your wisdom and insight without being critical. I'm wrapping this up. Discover your strengths and weaknesses as a parent. Admit when you're wrong and apologize, parents, even as the adult parents. But even if you have little kids, and you know, I apologize to my kids their whole lives because I knew I did stuff that wasn't all that great. Good parents aren't perfect, and that's okay. You're human. You're going to make mistakes. Give your children to the Lord. You know, we usually do this baptismal or dedication or whatever church you're in. There's some form of you giving your children to God. Give your children to God, but you really give them to God. Don't take them back like we usually do. And last but not least for my talking, and I know I've done this all night and he needs to have a turn.
2 minutes.
If change is necessary, kids are going to do stuff. And you may think they need to go and change and fix themselves. That's fine. Start praying about it. Because let me tell you something. God will take care of them. But usually he's going to take care of you first. Just like this relationship, whenever I think he needs to change and I go pray, God says, what about you? It's not any different than with your kids. Or if you're the kid and it's with your parents, it's all the same. I see Jillian. Hi, baby girl. So
Yeah, we get into a tussle and she says, well, I'm going to go pray about it. I'm like, it's like a super weapon. I'm like, good. Maybe he'll tell her to change.
And he does most of the time.
I don't ever say that.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Don't kid yourself. Okay.
I've got another Mike Rowe for you, Mike Rodium.
We've been talking for a long time,
Yep.
so keep going.
We were going through this discussion today, and it kind of reminded me of a story from Mike Rowe, because I think he's one of the really great blue collar philosophers of our time, and he had a little something to say. He's got a post out there called "Using the Tools God Gave Him," and basically he talks about his dad and his grandfather. He really loved his grandfather and looked up to him, and his grandfather was one of those kind of guys who could do anything he set his hands to, literally set his hands to. Build the church where he had Sundays where Mike actually was in Sunday school with houses without blueprints, plumbing, fixing the well. They had lived on a farm. I think it was outside of Baltimore, Maryland. I think is where they were raised. And he could do everything. And Mike aspired to be just like him. So basically, he equated his life as an apprenticeship. And that his dad and granddad, who he especially took a liking to, and he aspired to be just like him. And as he grew, he got the wisdom of his grandfather that he sought after. Not all the kids go after that. They all get it, but Mike was kind of really seeking it. But every child's listening to what you say and how you do it, and what you expose them to and what you don't expose them to. These are the things that your job as a parent, when they're little and they're growing up, you're teaching them how to be adults, responsible, mature, functioning adults. And Mike went ahead and correlated that to the fact that he realized real fast that he wanted to be just like his pop, and he couldn't. He couldn't build shelves or make a metal lunchbox or whatever the heck it was he was doing. He couldn't.
Hey, Drayton.
He couldn't do homes, and he certainly couldn't plumb things. And if he did do things, he did it all wrong. But he did realize the point of the whole exercise was that he finally sat down one day and was sulking, and his pops comes over to him, and he says, "I just can't do anything right, pops." And he's like, "Yes, you can. God gave you a toolbox. Your toolbox is different than mine.
Right.
I've taught you your whole life how to find your tools."
Yeah.
And then Mike realized all the lessons he's learned each life wasn't to be just like his pop. It was to learn from his pop how to be his own man.
Right.
And that was the point of the whole thing. Your job as a parent is to let your children be the man or woman that they are supposed to be. You do that through godly principles. You do that through the praying. You do that through practical everyday issues that you deal with. But every one of your kids has a toolbox. Present the toolbox. That toolbox is the wisdom that God has given you. The Holy Spirit will show you when to open it. And they will finally have that day when they leave your house. They have a toolbox in their hand. And guess what? They're going to use that toolbox, and that toolbox is going to be given to their kids. That's this,
and it's going to grow and morph as God uses it, because each of us are different. And so we're better parents than probably our parents were, which means our kids will be better parents than we were, and on it goes. That's the way it should go. Doesn't always, but it should go that way, because you learn. And if you're willing to do the apologies and say, "I was wrong," and I don't care if it's with your in-law kids or your own kids. I've told both of my daughters in love and my son in love, if you have a problem with me, please come to me. Don't put your spouse in between, because then that makes it makes it tenuous between you and your spouse and them and their parents. So I've always hoped that the kids would come to us directly. And I think so far that's been the case. And we haven't really had a ton of stuff, but we've had a couple of things. And I thank you, Jillian, for saying that I'm a wonderful mother-in-law. I try really hard. And I just want everybody to be happy. But I'm not perfect, so I'm going to make mistakes, and that's what's going to happen. And we'll close with this because we're way over our time. But even with like this Thanksgiving, Jillian, my sweet girl, she wanted to call me and let me know that she might not be able to make it for Thanksgiving, and she was really concerned that I would be upset. And I was upset, but I was upset in the fact that not she couldn't make it. I was going to miss my time with her. Upset, not oh well, she should put us first. Not that kind of upset.
No.
More of the we don't get to have like the traveling up there time and all of the sweet time talking about music and life and just having fun and playing and cooking and all the things that we do and the grill time.
I'm missing out on the memory of being with you.
Right, that was more of it. So, but we prayed for her to get through school and take care of the things that she needed to.
And she got things done.
She got things done, and we got to talk to her, and we got to see her before and after because we picked up Drayton and dropped him off. Plus, the nice part is they live in Fort Worth, so we get to go up there pretty regular and see them. But it made me feel good that she was concerned about my feelings. And, that I would be upset she couldn't be there. And I thought that was really super sweet. And so parents need to really think about, what they would do, as Lisa said earlier, guilting the kids. I don't want to, you wouldn't want to guilt your children. I mean, I could have very easily used that as a thing and guilted her. But who would do that? See, I don't think that way. But I do know people who would. And that's the part that gets to me. Hey, Beth. Hey, Ennis. So we decided we're going to close now. But we were supposed to be doing warts and all. And we've talked for 45 minutes on how to parent your adult children. So if you're coming on now, you might want to go back to the beginning and fast forward through the parts
Our next show is going to be about doing a show in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
we'll do it in 15.
Well, normally we do it in 30 minutes, but this time we've talked for a long time. But there's just a few things we've seen. Okay, so watch this. Pray for your kids.
Pray.
You rock. You rock. Read this book, The Delusion. Oh, it is so good.
And the premise of the book?
Spiritual warfare, but it's not like it's
observing, identifying.
It's a fictional book. So, I mean, it's a story. There's a story behind it. Man, is it good. I'm just this close. I may not sleep tonight. I'm so close to being done. I gotta finish it. So anyway, we're going to say goodnight. So instead of tonight's being the warts and all, we'll do that next time. And then the preparing for, if you're single, how to prepare for your spouse, if that's what you want. So love you guys. Oh, wait, we got to pray.
That's right.
Oh, are you praying?
Yep.
Oh!
We totally forgot about it, but yes, I told everybody I was going to pray this time, so there you go.
Are you going to pray?
Yeah, real quick.
We're going to pray for y'all.
Father, I just thank you and I praise you, and I just ask that you just bless each and every parent and family member that's out there, all the kids and the parents, but especially we just pray for that unity that they all strive for through you, Father, that your wisdom, your ways, and your will be done, and that we would keep you in the forefront of all of our lives, all of our thoughts, and things go so much better when we just put it that way, put you at the top and let us come underneath. And, I just pray right now that we recognize the needs of the young adults coming into their own, and that they have earned the right for the sovereignty that they crave.
Yes.
And that we allow them to do that by handing them the tools that they need, and not the guilt that they don't need. We just thank you, Father, for those reminders, and quicken us if we do start to stray. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Okay, love you guys. Good night, Jillian. Good night, Drayton, and everybody else who's watching.
It's scrolled off our screen. We can't see.
It's my babies. So we'll talk to y'all later.
See you in a couple.
Yeah, couple of weeks. Bye.
Bye.